and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Let's get started with our first segment. And we got 3 videos from our good friend of the show, Case Study QB. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel as well as his Odyssey page as well. He's doing a lot of great things, especially for the People's Gauntlet. But I've seen these videos, and right now it doesn't surprise me again that corporate media is once again going after progressive elected officials in the House and Senate. Now look, I know we've been very critical about the progressives in the House and Senate, but let's be very clear here, especially when it comes down to this budgetary crisis or this budgetary fight for the $3.5 trillion. The real people that have been the roadblocks towards it have been moderate Democrats, people like Senator Joe Manchin, Senator Sinema, as well as blue dog Democrats in the United States House of Representatives. Now the progressives, they've been that doormat, but what happens? Corporate media is saying that they're the ones that are blocking everything. They're the ones that are being the people that are halting this legislation. Don't believe me? Check out this Orwellian talking point from good old Chris Cuomo, who starts basically talking down to progressives and progressive leaders and progressive activists about, hey, if you start acting like this, you might get another Trump. Oh no, here comes another Trump. Oh no, Again, Fredo, it doesn't surprise me why you're not in charge of the family business, because this kind of Orwellian talk should frighten a lot of people, and again, should remind everyone what corporate media truly is. They're nothing but reactors, and they're puppets to spew out talking points. Let's listen to Fredo give us this big Orwellian speech.
Do you realize how precarious a position the president is in, not with the big lie, not with people who wanted to steal the election, not with people trying to convince people that it's freedom to not take the vaccine, his own party. Tonight's vote on moving the debt ceiling, that's just a stray shot. The real risk is that the Democrats may hand power back to the Trumpers. How? These internal divisions are real and really threatening Biden's agenda. It may not get done. Pelosi pushing the 27th as a drop-dead date for a spending bill that has no agreement only makes things worse. The House is voting on legislation that could help avert a government shutdown, right? The division, though, within the party is the problem, and it's real. The center-left, the moderate Democrats, are increasingly at odds with what the progressives want, which is what President Biden, that's his starting point. So he's with the farther left on his spending bill. It's very aggressive.
Oh, okay, stop it right there. I got to correct everyone. I got to correct everyone right here, including Fredo, because Fredo wants to be an idiot. Fredo here is being an idiot. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the ones that are placating to Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Sinema. As I said on yesterday's show, the Biden-Harris administration is weaker than the Trump administration because the Biden-Harris administration keeps on bowing down and kowtowing to a non-elected official, the Senate parliamentarian, who goes by the name Elizabeth McDonough, because that's her name, that's a Senate parliamentarian, and guess who can overrule the Senate parliamentarian? The President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States. And when it comes down to placating elected officials, the Biden-Harris administration are on their hands and knees begging for support from Manchin and Sinema. It should be the other way around. So it's not the progressives that are doing it. Look, we've been critical of progressives, but it's not the progressives that are stopping everything. The Biden-Harris administration and the blue dog Democrats are the ones doing it. And if you can't see it, then you're blind. Get some glasses. Let's listen to Fredo once again feed us some more BS.
And the moderates, they really don't want it. And they're starting to almost sound like they're from different parties. Here's the problem. If the Senate, the Democrats there, if they won't give on the reconciliation price tag in a way that appeases the far left slash the president, and the response from them, from the fringe, is to stall the infrastructure bill that's been agreed on in the Senate, President Joseph Biden could literally go 0 for 2. You stave off the big lie. You stave off an insurrection. You beat the most poisonous president in a generation, only to have your own party leave you vulnerable? Are you serious?
Okay, hey, Fredo, let's talk, before you start throwing stones, let's look at your brother and how, again, under his administration, 15,000 senior citizens died under his administration's mishandlement of the senior citizen homes, and how 15,000 senior citizens in the state of New York died. So, you know, don't be throwing stones, especially if you live in a glass house, Fredo. Let's also address another thing as well when it comes down to the progressives. They're the ones that have been constantly being kicked out and denied by the Biden-Harris administration. It's not the progressives that are doing this, and it's not Biden siding with progressives. The Biden administration made it very clear that they're not going to adopt any of Bernie Sanders' policies, and the progressives were always there to just pat him on the back, and it's been progressives, especially in the House, that said that he's doing above and beyond what they expected. He exceeded expectations. And now what is the progressives' reward? Now they're being lumped in as being the people stopping the $3.5 trillion budget. It wasn't the progressives that lowered it down. See, progressives, especially in the Democratic Party, this is what happens when you're part of the two-party system. You get co-opted and then you get blamed. You get put on the chopping block. And while Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema and the Senate parliamentarian can get away with almost everything, and then the Biden-Harris administration, wow, way to once again be clueless. But hold on, corporate media is not done. We got another video from Case Study QB. Let's pull this up here where Brian Williams is actually corrected. Somebody on corporate media actually corrects him, because thankfully I just wanted to pull this gem out, and thank goodness that Case Study QB actually caught this. Let's play this video.
Devil's advocate here, you know the argument. You know that people say to the left, the Jayapals of the world, did you like the Trump years? Because if you did, you can have 4 more if you split the party. The margin in the House is so thin, they can't afford anyone to get the sniffles on vote day. They can't pass anything in the United States Senate, including Peach Month. And Joe Biden may be the last best hope moderates and liberals in the Democratic Party have.
Look, Brian, I'm hesitant to put this on progressives before looking at moderates first, because let's remember, the entire plan for the Build Back Better agenda to be delivered to Biden was a 2-bill package that run on parallel tracks. That was the plan. Biden even got in trouble for saying it out loud. But that has always been the internal plan for Democrats. So my eye first goes to moderates of, is this the road you want to take? Causing intra-party fighting that could potentially blow up this full agenda? Because I look at progressives at this point and say, okay, they're only responding with leverage to make sure that essential investments are made in people and the economy and every bit of recovery that we need in an ongoing pandemic. And so I fully expect fireworks for Biden tomorrow when he calls everybody into huddle. He's over this. He's tired of it. He wants it done so they can move on to the other priorities you just mentioned, Brian. And so I fully expect negotiations to come to a head tomorrow. So Speaker Pelosi already put the word out to progressives to expect some fluctuations in the reconciliation bill. I won't be surprised if tomorrow ends with some announcements of new agreements, and then all of this can move forward.
Okay, so here again, I have someone like Brian Williams speaking out the same Orwellian talking point of, hey, progressives, if you don't fall in line, you're going to get another 4 more years of Trump. Newsflash, we covered this on the show, as have everyone else in independent media. Trump is probably going to run again in 2024. Don't be surprised if he runs again, all right? So that's going to happen. And why? Because the moderate Democrats and the Biden-Harris administration are making an open playing field for Trump to run again. This is a sad, sad fact that we're living in. But yet corporate media is not done, again, smearing progressives. We got one more video from Case Study QB, just 1 more minute long, and then I want to open up the floor to my colleagues, Kira and Daniel, because again, we're seeing this propaganda, we're seeing this Orwellian talking point, and I just want to make a final note on this. This is why I'm supporting third parties and why we need to build the infrastructure for third parties. This is why we need to build the infrastructure for a continuous general strike, because if you're a progressive and you're running in the Democratic Party, you are going to be put on that chopping block. So, hey, cul-de-sac progressives and blue checkmark people. Hey, vote blue no matter who. I thought you were going to fight for progressive issues and push Biden to the left. Because obviously if you're progressive or you have left-leaning policies, they're never going to be taken seriously and you are going to be made into the villain. But yet it's the moderate Democrats that are doing this. It's the blue dog Democrats that are doing this. Screw the GOP. It's the Democratic Party that's killing itself. Let's play this video.
So what's the calendar here? There's so much going on at once. The answer might just be everything at the same time. Yeah. But what, how can they do all this and how long?
I love the fact that 2 bills trying to be aligned at the same time is too much happening at once in the Capitol. That's all.
Yeah.
What's it going to take?
The sequencing is going to be very complicated. It really depends on what happens first on government funding. Then you look at the debt ceiling. Reconciliation and this infrastructure package don't have to get done in the next couple of weeks. And frankly, it's probably going to be a couple of weeks, if not end of the year, when that happens.
So just this dynamic now between the progressives and the moderates. I mean, is there a chance for common ground? And I think there's a sense that that reconciliation package, Democrats will vote for it alone, of course, probably won't end up at $3.5 trillion. It'll shrink to some degree. What do we think falls out of it if it does?
Yeah, I mean, the progressives are holding Democrats hostage here in a way that we haven't seen them do. This is very similar to what the Freedom Caucus did when Republicans had it when they were in control. So the question really is going to be, I think, certainly in terms of funding, do they cut everything just a little bit? Does everything get a haircut? Or are there going to be real programs that are going to fall out, whether that's funding for HBCUs and other kind of priorities among some of the progressives?
And tell us lastly.
Okay, there you go. Again, the smear job towards progressives. If you are trying to run in the midterm election cycle and you're running as a progressive in the Democratic Party, good luck. Seriously, good luck, because you're not going to get any support from the corporate Democrats. And again, look, we all know who the Republican lawmakers are. They're not going to fight for progressive issues. They never will. But the Democrats made a lot of promises in 2020, and it's the Democrats themselves that are shooting themselves in the foot. I haven't seen this much incompetence and weakness in a long time. And this once again proves to me that the Democrats need to go, as well as the GOP. And when you hear these corporate media pundits saying that it's the progressives, you will never, ever have an ally in corporate media. This is why we need independent media. Kira, we'll start off with you. Daniel, what's the final closing words?
Yeah, I watched these 3 videos that you sent over earlier today, and I don't know why I'm still wearing these. And I was like, whoa, is it still 2020? It's the same tactics, right, as the election, except now just with policy and legislation. Because if there's not a boogeyman, there's not a bad guy, then the Democrats can't win anything. And so really, I just hear a lot of fear mongering and all of this. The same tactics that we see when it comes to elections is what they're doing with this legislation. Fear the other team, and then blame the progressives, right? Yeah. Those are the two steps I'm seeing here. And Biden's a tough talking guy, right? I mean, he talked down Corn Pop all those years ago. So that if he really wanted this done, and I do actually, and I think that Biden's a bit of an S talker, right? Yeah. So I do think that if he really wanted to get something done, he's an aggressive guy. He will get it done.
But he's too senile to do it.
It's senile, but I always think it's more than that. I just think that he doesn't want to. I think he wants to have the attempt out there. Look at this big thing that I was trying to do. But look at these.
So what's the calendar here? There's so much going on at once. And the answer might just be everything at the same time.
Done with all of this going on, when easily he could send Harris, he could send anybody to either West Virginia or Arizona or any of these other number of states of these moderate Democrats to basically let the people know, hey, here's what's going on, here's what you'll get, but your elected official is holding this hostage, not the progressives. The progressives aren't holding anything hostage. I mean, I suppose at that point it's your vantage point, right? You could say that it's the moderate Democrats, or you could say it's the progressives. And when you watch mainstream media, we get to see exactly what vantage point they're coming from. Not that we didn't know that. Not that anybody is surprised. And then at the very end, the other thing that the mainstream media uses, even people in my personal life, they'll start to compare you to the Freedom Caucus, or they'll start to compare you to the Tea Party. And it's like, yeah, but those guys got things done.
They made Boehmer quit his job.
Is it a bad thing to be able to actually get what you want passed? Granted, we didn't agree with the Tea Party. We didn't agree with what they wanted, but they sure as hell got things done. So compare away. Those are the tactics that need to get used to get things done. And the Tea Party and the Freedom Caucus has shown us that over and over and over again.
Yep, and again, Boehmer still has PTSD from the Tea Party, because that's what they did. And again, progressives, there were 15 congressmen men and women on the forced vote petition that ran for Medicare for all. Are you telling me that they don't have the power to become a united voting bloc and give Nancy a heart attack? Come on. It can be done. They just chose not to do it. Daniel, close it up.
Okay, so what are we seeing on the news? We're seeing what we always see on the news, and that's useless people that are generally either trust fund babies or people that were part of the moderate Democrats to begin with, tell people that have any difference of opinion with them that they're bad. I want to remind them that whenever it comes election time, progressives aren't bad. They're apparently essential voters that are needed to turn back the red tide of the Republicans. Just at no other time do they really matter. I would have also liked in that commentary when they with Brian Williams being debunked in real time that the point was made. Hey Brian, do you want progressives to vote in the Democratic Party? If so, maybe the Democrats should do something for progressives. That progressives have been rolled over time and time again. They were like, oh, hey, Medicare for all. No, we're not going to try and force the vote for it. How about this thing? No. Democrats get what they want. How about this thing? No. We'll give Democrats. How about minimum wage? Parliamentarian overrode it. And then they finally one time stand up, and they literally, at that point in time, and I was hearing someone else's analysis that, like, the $3.5 trillion is actually wanted by a lot of Democrats that are in these swing districts because they want to universalize, which is at least something nice about a couple of things in that $3.5 trillion bill. So we're in a weird spot where Biden seems to be like, okay, this is the deal that we made when Bernie Sanders gave up. She did. That we're going to do this human infrastructure bill. Nancy Pelosi seems to be on board with Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and saying, we got to make some amount of something happen, and then I'll go eat ice cream after. Chuck Schumer's like trying to fiddle with his glasses, but that's nothing new, nothing extreme. And then we have a lot of Democrats that are also on board with what Sanders wants. But we have like a half dozen Democrats in the House and one or two in the Senate that are not going along with it, or, as CNN would say, progressives are being elite. It's nothing. They're saying nothing. They mean nothing. And progressives, we have chastised for not doing anything. I'm going to say this, and I think you should say this as well. If progressives give up on this, they're dead. They don't exist anymore. Yeah. They don't mean anything. They're just a label that means... They're just a It's like getting a jar of pickles that's mislabeled mayo. It doesn't make it mayo. It's still just pickles. So that's one. If the moderates decide that they want to make a stand and the one thing that progressives are getting and asking for, and they block it, the progressives better call their ass out. If the progressives don't turn around and call them out for this, why shouldn't AOC go to Kentucky at this point? What does she have to lose? She already went to the Met. She got that taken care of. They have nothing except everything. It's like we've always said. If they just stood their ground, they could easily win because they already win on all the issues that they're fighting for. They've already won over Nancy. They've won over Biden. If the news media can't get through to that, and they're just going to blame them. I was literally having an argument with someone earlier today who's a blue no matter who kind of person, or as they would put it, I don't like the Democratic Party, I just hate the Republicans, so everything works out the exact same way anyway. So what progressives are trying to do, she called an extremist position to ask for this bill.
Wow.
That they were extremists for...
Extremists.
Oh, the extreme left asking for what everyone already wants and then not fighting for it, but maybe fighting for it.
Every other country.
And she literally said, that I'm asking for Texas to rule the country if this is asked. These are idiots. These people are idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. And the one time progressives put their foot down, the news is like, oh, well, they're just like Trump. They're just like the Freedom Caucus. Okay, Mom, could I have some more money? I didn't pay my rent.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Kira.
I was going to say, do we want to wager a bet? Do we think that they'll hold strong, or do you think they'll cave? And do we want to?
I don't want
no confidence.
This is even worthy of a pizza bet because it's going to be bitter tasting. Because let's say
So do we think the infrastructure bill will pass and not?
Okay. So when you say will the infrastructure bill pass, my question is at the current level Or is it going to be?
Oh, I mean the agreed upon one from the Senate. The 500, however much $billion.
I don't have any. I usually like to bet when I feel 75% confident. I feel 60% confident, so I'm not ready.
You even numerize that. What do you think, Kit? Will they both pass? Will neither pass? Will just one pass?
Looking at I think one of those things will happen.
Shut up.
I'm pretty certain of that.
I'm a little bit pessimistic. Before we end the segment, I'm a little bit pessimistic towards progressives because when we expected them to fight for Medicare for all, the force to vote, it wasn't asking them to lift up Olympus. But that was, for me, the canary in the coal mine. When those 15 congressmen and women refused to get involved, was forced to vote for Medicare for all, for putting it for a floor vote, that was a sign to me that the progressives are not going to fight back for anything, that they're going to be a doormat. And then when it came down to Cenk Uygur's forced to vote for 15, save us, Kamala! Remember that?
That's where I lost hope, actually.
Right. But see, the thing is, that forced to vote for 15, when Sinema did that little curtsy, and Joe Manchin and those other 6 other blue dog Democrats in the Senate got rid of the $15 minimum wage. For me, again, that was further proof that the progressives aren't going to fight back. I think the progressives will, this is my opinion, just with past actions and how they've screwed up, how they effed up with everything, I think they're going to vote for the bill no matter what number it's at.
I think, okay, so here's I think
I just have zero confidence in them. I think they'll screw it up.
What I would like to happen. This is my best case scenario. Sort of. It's sad because it hurts a lot of people for it. What I'm about to say. I want this entire thing to implode. Because I remember I talked about it before. The only thing that might keep the Democrats from just getting destroyed in the midterms is this bill. Yeah. Is literally what this extremist position that's just like Trump is legitimately the only thing that is keeping the Democrats relevant in the midterms. Because let's just say, for example, that they just go, you know what, we're going to give up. Progressives just give up, put their hands up and say, you know what, we'll just take the $500 billion. That's mostly a privatization bill, so no one's going to, no mom, pop, single mom, single dad, anyone, no one's going to go, I really feel this bill affecting my daily life. They're going to maybe notice some additional construction or tolls going up. That's the effect.
And then they'll be upset about all the construction.
Right. So if the Democrats just pass what the moderates want, they're destroying their chances in the midterms. Utterly. Because what have they offered? They've not dealt with the pandemic fully. There's all this new stuff that they just haven't taken care of it. They really haven't done anything else. And I think the only thing that was keeping Biden popular, which is already stopped because of the relapse in the pandemic, was that he said, we're getting out of it because of the stuff that Trump set up. But no one has to know about that. And, the money for unemployment just ended. So everything, like, what does Biden have left if not for the progressives bill? So I hope it implodes. I want it to blow up in their face because as much as I would like for that money, which would definitely help people, we've already talked about it's not enough.
No.
It's still, if this was a term paper in a college, you would get a 30%. That's better than 0, I suppose, but not when the rest of your grade has already been 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, fail, 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 fail. And at least you washed your hands in the bathroom, which doesn't, in the big scheme of things, doesn't affect anything. If they fail at this, the only people who are going to be hurt are the borderline Democrat moderates. So they're just playing Russian roulette. Let them play Russian roulette. Let them shoot themselves in the head, and then have everyone else complain that progressives pulled the trigger when they did it to themselves.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think I'll go with what the Salt Lakers says is Democrats will fund just enough bridges for everyone to live under.
Yeah. That's it. And there's
they'll fund the police to kick them out.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Well, they'll definitely fund that. I don't think there's any question about whether or not law enforcement will be funded. Yeah. I think that's a shoo-in.
That's what's going to happen.
I guess I'm on the other side of you, Daniel. I think that I want either both, because that $500 billion bill is just a giveaway. Yeah. Or none. Yeah. But to just have that one bill pass would be awful.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like if either progressives have already, here's the other thing. I think that generally, so I do think there's one thing that like Nancy and Chuck do, is that they do make these bigger deals and they think it's their reputation is the ability to maintain them. And I'm convinced at this point, just by the way it's gone, this was the one caveat that Bernie Sanders made when he dropped out. that he gets something like this passed when the time comes for it. And he has been sitting back and going, I don't care if you don't get health care. No minimum wage, don't care. He got promised this $3.5 trillion in human infrastructure. And now the question is whether he'll fight. If what I'm thinking is true, whether or not he'll fight for it would be a really good question. If that was true, I'd like to see if this fell apart. That Bernie Sanders all of a sudden becomes an antagonist in the Senate, which.
How's that even going to happen? Him being an antagonist?
Making the point.
Well, that's a reach, man.
Making the point that this seems to me, and based on how Nancy Pelosi has talked about it, she's very clear on this stuff. Her general response is, I don't care, get out of my face if she doesn't agree with it. And if she has made a deal, she's very much acting like she is now. So that's why I'm more confident that this is going to happen. I think there's going to be like a lower number.
Yeah, I do think it'll be a lower number.
And I don't think it'll be $3.5 trillion when it's done. It'll go from an F to an F minus to an F minus minus. Okay, congratulations. But I think that something's going to happen. I think both of them are going to get passed. It's just going to be so watered down. It's not going to matter.
That people aren't going to really feel the difference.
And then what's going to happen? Once this watered-down, extra useless, bonus useless bill passes, the Democrats are then going to get destroyed in the midterms, and they're going to go around and say it was that progressive bill that caused this to happen.
Well, it was the progressive bill, and it was the progressives. It was the people who were holding this bill hostage. Whose fault it is.
And then what's going to happen is they're going to undo it. They're going to do tax cuts to counteract it, and then everything that would have possibly been gained from this bill, even at $3.5 trillion, is going to be zeroed out as if it never happened. Which is why I would prefer this thing to just collapse.
Yeah.